So a lot of people in this book are actually injured by barrel bomb, and this is Sundus Hawana. She's a pretty beautiful girl. She's 11 years old. And she lost an eye in a barrel bomb attack, which is very bad already. But what happened, she was standing outside of her house, and in the ground floor, she was living with her parents and 3 of her brothers, who were inside of the building at that time. And on the top floor, there were 11 people, so there was the whole family of her uncle. And the bomb hit the house straight, basically, and everybody inside was killed, you know. So this is actually what is a barrel bomb for me, and not a more cinematic, theater like we have it in a Hollywood movie, you know. Because and then it's really this. Okay, we kick it out, we ignite it like in the Battle of Waterloo, you know. It's also this, I don't know, anachronistic or ancient thing of battle what we have in our mind that actually the BBC takes up because it's very photogenic, but it has nothing to do with what actually happens on the ground, because, you know, she's really super. I mean, people are always traumatized to some level in the war, but for her it's really horrific, you know, because basically every 15-20 minutes she just sits somewhere and starts crying, you know, or also yelling, you know. So it's really, she's super traumatized, you know. So this is also why I think it's better to show these results of war and what happens to people or what happens to town than going after this more, action or Hollywood style, material. And the point is also, there's so many cameras now everywhere, you know, that if you really do a good research, you get everything. I'm not a movie maker, you know, but there was a video, so Azerbaijan television station, they put GoPro, it's a small camera like you have on a helmet when you go skydiving or mountain biking, so they put this on the turret of battle tanks, and they were driving into a suburb of Damascus. It's actually a pretty boring video. It goes very long. It lasts very long, but then on the 4th or 5th, because it was just this tank, so there's this battle tank, and there's no movement. The movement of the camera is only from the turret of the tank, and then you see another battle tank in front of this tank, and then an armored personnel carrier further in front, then it fades because it's a pretty wide angle lens, so you cannot see very far. So it goes on and on and on, and then at some point, you know, the cannon with the camera goes to the left, and then there's a huge explosion. The cannon goes back, you see that the tank in front, completely, the turret is flown away. It's a 50-ton tank, so it's a huge explosion. And then there's a cut in the film. You see a couple of rebels running through a debris landscape. They run up a staircase with a guided missile. They put it up, and you see the video of the rebels making the same picture. Basically, the tank with a GoPro with this little camera standing there, and the rebel is just shooting the opposite. And when you make a movie, this is what we do sometimes, you know. You have 2 cameras, and I don't know what's the English expression, but we say shoot and shoot against it.
Plano contra plano, shot.
And so that is. And then you see how they fire the rocket and how the tank explodes. And basically, but it's not a movie, you know. These people from this Azerbaijan television, they just looked in YouTube and they found basically the suitable material for their production, you know. And this shows how much film there actually is. So what do you want with this action? It's really becoming a movie theater almost, you know.
Usually, Manuel, you do a different, while Kai works with images, you have to report these to your listeners in the radio mostly. Lately, also for the television, but you're mostly a radio man. How do you live this war scenario when you are there, and how do you build your reportage?
Mm-hmm.
Can I speak in Portuguese?
It's okay.
If you don't mind.
That's okay.
After we can.
If there's anything important, I have to relate in it.
It's better for me because I can be more expressive, okay? So, boa tarde. Obrigado pelo convite. Eu acho que eu ainda não vi a exposição no Pardão, mas seja como for, acho que é uma excelente ideia, porque parece-me que muitas vezes temos algum excesso de pudor quando abordamos as guerras. E às vezes as guerras, porque temos esse pudor e porque muitas vezes uma das coisas que os órgãos de comunicação social fazem, sobretudo as televisões e os jornais, não mostram muito pessoas mortas. Quer dizer, há uma espécie de pudor, sobretudo os telejornais, não sei se é por ser a hora do jantar, e as pessoas não querem ser incomodadas, mas não mostram muito. E eu sou absolutamente contra isso. Ou seja, se as imagens são chocantes, no caso das televisões, os espectadores devem ser alertados, mas não é pelo facto de ser um telejornal à hora do jantar que se deve deixar de mostrar isso. Se as crianças não podem ver, se calhar não podem ver o telejornal. Se calhar vão ver desenhos animados, ou outro tipo de coisas. Eu acho que há uma coisa muito importante em qualquer guerra, é que morrem pessoas. É o mais importante, morrem pessoas. Portanto, nós não podemos omitir ou de algum modo branquear, não é, essa parte da guerra que é só a mais importante. Relativamente à situação na Síria, trabalhar para a televisão, trabalhar para a rádio ou trabalhar para um jornal é sempre diferente e exige sempre uma atitude diferente para o jornalista que está no terreno. Sinto que eu não concordo muito com aquele conceito de jornalista de guerra ou repórter de guerra. O jornalismo é igual em todo lado, não é? Esteja numa guerra ou esteja a fazer a cobertura de outro acontecimento qualquer. Por exemplo, aqui, se houver aqui um jornalista, os critérios são sempre os mesmos. Mas, de facto, no terreno, o meio de comunicação para o qual se trabalha obriga a estratégias diferentes e a abordagens diferentes. Não é? Enquanto que uma câmara de televisão, uma máquina fotográfica, através de uma boa lente, através de um zoom, pode ir buscar uma imagem centenas de metros, não é? Eu, por exemplo, para a rádio, se quiser o som daquilo que está a acontecer, tem que estar lá perto, não é? E, portanto, há abordagens diferentes. Relativamente à guerra na Síria e à vaga de refugiados que está a chegar à Europa desde há muito tempo, eu acho que a surpresa só existe porque, de facto, nós falamos pouco daquilo que está a acontecer no mundo. Sobretudo em Portugal, fala-se pouco daquilo que está a acontecer no mundo. Gastamos imensas horas a falar de futebol, não é? Com a imagem a andar para trás e para a frente, para ver se houve o toque na perna, se foi penalti, se foi dentro da área ou fora da área, mas depois não explicamos estes problemas complexos que se vivem noutros pontos do mundo, que depois acabam ou dão origem a estas, por exemplo, estas vagas de refugiados, a milhões refugiados e deslocados, a centenas de milhares de mortos, e depois ficamos todos muito de boca aberta quando percebemos que há uma série de pessoas que querem fugir destes sítios e procuram aquilo que nós faríamos, presumo eu pelo menos faria, não é? Se vivesse num sítio desse e fosse confrontado com aquele tipo de realidade, certamente que procurava outra área, outra zona, outro país onde eu pudesse ter alguma segurança. E, portanto, temos esse déficit de abordagem a estes problemas complexos. Em particular, a guerra na Síria. Eu não sei, nós temos sempre tendência para dar uma imagem muito definitiva das coisas. Eu acho que é das guerras mais complexas, tirando, obviamente, as grandes guerras mundiais, mas é das guerras mais complexas que nós estamos a viver. Isto pelo conjunto de atores e de interesses que se estão a manifestar naquela zona. Se recuarmos um bocadinho, isto é evidente que podemos ir mais atrás, não é? Desde a queda do Império Otomano, por aí fora, e chegamos aos nossos dias. Mas esta guerra começa, digamos assim, ou tem uma grande origem, eu acho que na invasão do Iraque. A invasão do Iraque é determinante para tudo aquilo que neste momento está a acontecer no Médio Oriente. Para terem uma ideia, na Síria, aquilo que temos hoje é, no centro do conflito que que tem por protagonista principal, digamos assim, o Estado Islâmico. O que nós temos neste momento é um povo, que é o povo curdo. Curiosamente, é um povo sem Estado, não há um Estado curdo, mas há um povo curdo que travou a marcha do Estado Islâmico. Travou, foram eles que travaram o Estado Islâmico. Quando o exército iraquiano falhou e fugiu, foram os curdos que travaram. Depois, os curdos estão divididos ali por 4 países: Turquia, Síria, Iraque e Irão. A Turquia não quer nem ouvir falar em autonomia e muito menos em independência dos curdos. Do lado do Iraque temos o conflito entre xiitas e sunitas e depois os curdos. Do lado sírio temos o conflito com as forças do regime de Bashar al-Assad, as forças moderadas do Exército Livre da Síria, as forças da Al-Qaeda da Jabhat al-Nusra, temos o Estado Islâmico, agora temos a Rússia a interferir, temos os Estados Unidos a interferirem juntamente com outros países árabes numa coligação internacional contra o Estado Islâmico, temos o Irão a interferir na Síria, temos o Hezbollah libanês a interferir na Síria. Portanto, estão a ver, isto é de uma complexidade extrema. Aliás, neste momento, o grande problema já, ou seja, estas coisas olham-se à la longue, não é? Perspectivam-se à la longue e já numa perspectiva de pós-Estado Islâmico, portanto, admitindo que o Estado Islâmico, mais dia, mais ano, menos ano, será derrotado. A grande dificuldade neste momento já é de saber quem é que vai ficar a controlar as zonas que neste momento estão controladas pelo Estado Islâmico. Ou seja, no caso do lado iraquiano, a cidade de Mossul, que é uma cidade na fronteira, digamos assim, entre a zona curda e a zona árabe. Quando o Estado Islâmico for derrotado e sair de lá, quem é que fica a controlar a cidade? Xiitas, sunitas ou curdos?
No, sorry, but I won't want to talk about the picture of the war and not explain politics too much. And I think we really have to do it in English, because for me it's difficult, because I cannot react to anything and we don't get a discussion rolling,
Okay, the big picture, Iraq and Syria, a lot of actors, okay? Kurdish, Turkey, Russia, United States, Sunnis, Shiites, Bashar al-Assad, Iran, Hezbollah, Free Syrian Army, Jabhat al-Nusra, I don't know if I forget.
There are a lot of people.
So, and I'm talking about the lack of information here in Portugal about the big conflicts, because we talk a lot about football, we spend hours talking about football, and we don't spend half an hour to explain to the people what is going on. So when we see a lot of refugees coming from Europe, we open our mouth, and we don't know why. We don't understand why. So that's the point. Another point, I think it's very important to put the pictures outside on the wall, because the people must look to the pictures.
Yeah, this is basically enforcing things.
And most of the time they don't like to think and don't like to see what's happening in these wars.
The point would be also, if we make this exhibition here in this institute, even if you have a nice exhibition space or something like that, maybe 100 of even maybe 1,000th of a people will see the images. So
there it's in an open space. It's everybody will see, even without without wanting them, they are confronted with it.
In the evening, I go back to my house, and one of the guys who is there with me, there's an artillery school in Aleppo, and this artillery school shells basically everywhere, And they also shelled the demonstration he was in, so he lost 2 of his toes. I mean, not only the toes, but also the midfoot, basically. So the shrapnel went in like this and basically destroyed the whole foot. And he actually was a soldier in this artillery school for 3 years, So I found this a little bit ironic, that the artillery school he has been in for 3 years, that they basically injure him so heavily on the foot. So when I went back, I said to him, we have this problem with this tank, and you have been in the artillery school. I was 3 years in this artillery school. I even didn't fire one shot of a rifle. I even didn't use a Kalashnikov, because this is also when you are in Syria, a company commander drives a Mercedes, and then you think, a company commander earns maybe, I don't know much, maybe $400, maximum $500. So how can he buy a Mercedes, which costs, I don't know, 50,000 euros top in pre-war Syria? And then he tells me, it's basically like this. I give money to the company commander, and if I give him a lot of money, I can stay home a month or 2 months or 3 months. Or if I don't have so much money, I give him some money, and I just stay in the barracks and be on the bed reading or sleeping or whatever, Everything is, and this is also why the people in Syria rose up, because the whole system was so fucking corrupt, what people can't imagine. You need a driver license, you need a permit to build your house, or whatever. For everything, you had to pay a bribe, And this makes people really mad at some time. And especially with Bashar, all this, getting more, accumulate more private wealth for the people in the regime became a real priority. Before it was a little bit more, communistic driven. So there were also benefits for the people, and that went down. This made the people rise up. And so when you are in this battle, you really have to make a lot of decisions on your own. I was a machine gun in the German army, and this is really essential. Otherwise, I cannot go there, So, for example, we storm up. So we are really very close from this autobahn, so from this big highway, and a tank is shelling us, but pretty close up. So it's not so dangerous, because the tank is standing there and it's shooting, and it can only shoot into the first building, and that's it. So if you are 2 buildings further, okay, it's a big explosion, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the end, but it keeps people back, And then suddenly there's a huge explosion on the other side, maybe from an RPG that somebody else fired, and it's a big fire in the smoke cloud, and everybody, Allahu Akbar, everybody runs, so attacks the position of the Syrian army. And so they basically gained space, and they made it up to the highway. In the end, they succeeded. But the point was, this RPG, it hit just a shop that was selling grease and different kinds of petrol. So it was just a big explosion, but militarily it didn't mean anything, And also. It's just planes come in from the Syrian Air Force, and they are standing there on their pickup trucks with a 13mm machine gun, which can do basically nothing against the plane, and they're shooting, just like, please bomb us, And I told the people, really, from my group, we go out here, because when this plane, and then it did attack, but it shot 150 meters further. It's just, everything is so chaotic, And it's also, as a photographer, you can, for film, it would have been brilliant, because there's all this hectic, there's this huge noise all the time, and you can see how hectic people are, but in photography, actually, it hardly doesn't translate.
And what about the people that you portray in those photographs? How do you approach them? Are they always, how do they react with fear at the beginning because they are traumatized?
No, basically, I go there. I did a similar project on Gaza, and then I tell them, okay, I'm this German photographer. What I want to do is to make a little book, not as big as the book that I had already. We're going to make an exhibition. I say I don't know where this exhibition is going to be. So that was, I started a project last year in February. I couldn't say that will have a big show in Lisbon, because I also explained to people, I'm doing this on my own, I think there's a necessity to do it, and then I start this project, and I don't overemphasize that, but I put my own money in, or it's my interest. There's no big magazine. I say that a magazine can come, maybe after 1 or 2 trips, and they did come, but in the start, I just explained this very brief, and this is what I want, so they can look at very similar pictures from Gaza, and they understand that. And then I make the interview maybe for 20, 25 minutes. So we also get a little bit closer, and I ask them questions. I don't go into psychological stuff, I mean, I don't ask them mentally how they are. I just ask basically, where have you been injured? I mean, in which place, what time? How was your first aid? Did you go to a field hospital or you were transported to Jordan? What happened to you? Were any of your relatives killed? Where are your relatives in the moment? And how did you were treated later? What's the conditions you're living in now? So it's really very basic question, because I really don't want to, hit anything or make people cry or anything like that. And the point is also, it's all what happened to these people is really horrific, So I have to, reduce the injury itself as much as possible. So I want that people feel really comfortable with me. This is one thing, and to show that there is an injury, but sometimes you really have to go, what is actually with this guy, and then you finally find it. I mean, if somebody has a facial injury, it's almost impossible. But this is the basic way I go.
But you, Manuel, because you want people to react, or you have to react in the moment, because you want to write the news to be broadcast. People are usually suspicious when a war reporter comes, a journalist comes, or
no, I don't know, because my face sometimes
looks like you're an Arab.
Yes, but I don't have any kind of problems with people. But also, I spend a lot of time walking on the streets. I don't stay in the hotel. It's very important. It's very important to understand the people, because if you don't understand the people, you cannot understand the country, and you cannot understand the war. So it's very important. I drink a lot of tea all the time, all the time, with a lot of sugar. So, and I don't know, but when I say I'm Portuguese, sometimes people don't know where is Portugal, but they know Cristiano Ronaldo. So
That's good.
no, it's true.
Football is a big thing,
Most of them don't know where
Our
is,
password.
they don't know where is Portugal. So, but when we talk about Ronaldo and Mourinho, everything okay. So I think my work is a little bit different from Kai. I think you go there with a specific motive, right?
Yeah, I mean, the point is also, I don't have anybody who buys. I mean, in the start, there's nobody who buys these photographs, So I also have to think, what will be. So there are the big news agencies, Reuters, Agence France Presse, Associated Press. So I basically have to do things that they are maybe scratching a little bit, but where I'm sure, because of their structure, they are not working on it as a whole, This is really important. I mean, because also at some point, I can invest for half a year or a year, or maybe also 2 years. I mean, not in this project, but in others. But at some time, I need to have to get the money back.
We could ask people if they have any questions, either to Kai or Manuel.
Maybe I think from here, I have been in the morning looking at some of your photos by the beach, and thank you very much. I think you provided a very balanced picture of what's going on in Syria. Having said that, I'd like to know from you, back to the violence and the safety of Europe. If you look back, is there anything that you think that you really missed, that if you would have the opportunity to repeat the work, you would collect a few other elements to have indeed a more comprehensive picture and a more balanced one? This is the first question. Second one?
Can we do it one by one? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, the big problem, I mean, I would like to do much more stuff, you know, but the problem is really where you have access, you know. So when I was in Aleppo, in this huge battle, you know, the first thing, it was really difficult to work. And basically it was also, I mean, looking back, you know, it was also really stupid because it was super duper dangerous, you know, because we had from the, I mean, we were really fighting the whole Syrian army, but I mean, we were shelled by field artillery from the school, we were shelled by the tanks that were in front of us, and there was a Sukhoi aircraft, so that's, I don't know if you know the German, I mean, the NATO, the Tornado, so it's a pretty big plane, and it has a lot of capacity, so it also, I wouldn't do something like that again. The original plan was basically to go there. There were 10 brothers that were fighting in one unit, and they had fought for 6 months at the time when I was there, and nobody got injured of them, you know. But just in these 4 days, from this unit where I was from 24 fighters, 7 were injured and 1 was killed, you know. So it was, these days were pretty intense. So I would actually not go back to something like that. And then, because the original plan was basically, I thought I'd go to Aleppo and we sit behind a sandbag barrier, and okay, we have these people and I can show how they live and what they do, but it was not, you know, really thinking of going into a big action, you know, military action, which actually did then happen, basically by accident. But now, you know, I can even not, at that time, you know, James Foley was this journalist, you know, who basically, this is also something about Western media, you know, you can have 150,000 Syrian kills, but if they slaughter one Western journalist, all the attention is there, you know. And that was already that time, but, you know, I operate very autonomic. I speak Arabic, so I don't work with a driver. I just pick up a taxi from a street. I follow certain security measures, you know. But there was also the Nusra Front, you know, I had to pass through a checkpoint of the Nusra Front basically every day, and it all worked well, you know, also because I don't have a taxi. The time I was there, actually, there was a Portuguese journalist. No? There were 3 journalists that got actually abducted. I mean, they got out after 24 hours because they could be located, and this Liwal Tawhid, so this Tawhid brigade I was with, they could pressure the people and they got them out. But now it's not possible anymore. I mean, to go anywhere, for me, maybe for him, you know, he will pass in the street. If he doesn't open his mouth, he will pass as an Arab, you know, but for me, surely not, you know. So, I mean, I cannot go, I mean, forget about the Islamic State territory, but I can also not go to Aleppo or anywhere, because basically you're just a sack of money running around, you know, because all these ransom stuff, they go over 10 million, you know. So there's simply no access for me anymore. I mean, I will try to go with the government, you know, I will apply for a visa, but if I get it, I don't know. So the last time I was there, I was arrested by the Syrian Secret Service for 10 hours. I mean, in the end, everything was okay, but I don't know if they have anything of this in their files or not, and it was not my mistake, but that doesn't help you much. So, you know, a lot of reporting, actually, wherever you are these days, it's not like in the 90s or in the 80s, you know, where journalists were more or less a neutral thing or were not attacked. I mean, now you are a prime target, you know. And it's also, you know, when I'm in any fighting, you know, I don't have a blue flag jacket saying press or anything like that. You know, I have 2 jackets, and when I'm in Israel, and I'm not so sure about this either anymore, I wear a blue jacket, but when I'm in Syria, you know, I will never ever wear a press jacket or anything, because any sniper who sees me, you know, if he kills me, you know, the news is all over the world, but if he shoots some Syrian army guy, you know, or some rebel guy in a camouflage cloth, it's no use at all, you know. So, I mean, this being neutral or whatever is became pretty difficult. And this is also why I basically went out of the loop and said, I can all talk to these people, and I mean, to the refugees who are injured, they can tell you something about the war. They have no agenda because there are no fighters, you know. They are not, I mean, maybe they have their own agenda, you know. So basically it's like everybody who is injustice done to has really an interest of showing it also. And so, yeah, about your question, I will next week or the next 2 weeks, we will apply for a government visa with the Syrian, so basically it will be with the Syrian army, and then I can see what I can do, but it's, I will be controlled, so, but this is just the circumstances I have to work in. I mean, if I could choose anything, I would do much more, but it's really difficult in the moment,
Yeah, the second part of the question is indeed related to your last comments, and I mean, it's I have been working in the region as humanitarian. I never entered Syria, but I worked and I traveled extensively in all neighboring countries until the end of last year. So I have a flavor of the local circumstances as well. But something that I mean, again, with the distance and no longer on the job, something that I feel is I mean, this manichaeist division, the good boys and the bad boys, and the good boys being the opposition and the bad boys being the government. And I think it's too simplistic, isn't it? That's why it's so important to work, do you journalists, because every story is a story. Yeah, and every story can indeed depict a very specific circumstance. And I do remember talking with a number of refugees, Syrian refugees in southern Turkey. They cross the border every day.
When?
I mean,
how long ago?
Sorry?
How long ago? This is really important. A year ago.
Yeah, indeed, it was November last year. I talked to these guys, and my perception was that there were a number of guys really involved in getting money.
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, the political reasons
Just a second,
not
okay.
there anymore.
Just a
it was
sec.
the economy of the
Okay,
world.
just one.
Let me take advantage of these to make money. And of course, they raise the flag of opposition, whatever, But indeed, it's business. It's clearly business.
Yeah, sure, it's business,
So, I mean,
just 1 second, okay? I fought with these 10 brothers, okay? And so it was 24, there were 4 units, so it was 100 people basically fighting with the Free Syrian Army at that time. 2 months ago, the youngest of these brothers actually came to Berlin, okay? So he left Syria. And I talked to him, nobody of these people is fighting anymore, nobody. They all left, because he said it's all about corruption, it's the same like the regime, it's about money, so all basically all these people who basically started with this approach of really changing something, I cannot say in general because I haven't been there, but it seems that most of them are basically out of the way,
So, sorry for this elaboration, but the question, the precise question was, do you think, and if we look at the other conflicts, where at some stage the fraction seems unsolvable, and we all Portuguese, and I was there because I was living there in Angola, at a certain stage in Angola, it was impossible, a peace agreement. And all of a sudden, they sat down, they signed the peace agreement, and then they realized that we have much more in common than anything that separates us. But the Syrian is, according to your perception, do you think it's really the case in Syria? If the water boils down and these people manage to see, all of a sudden there will be a sudden realization that what have we been doing? All this to say that if part of this conflict is not being fired from outside, it's nourished.
Yeah, but the society. This is the very bad thing on Syria. From my understanding, I have been in most of the countries in the Middle East. It's probably the most modern society. So it's really bad. For the Middle East in general. But there's so much, this war would have long broken down without the support. On the Assad side, without the support of the Russians and the Iranians, and the Iraqis also as well, the war in the start, it's crazy, I talked to the commanders of the Tawhid Brigade, and he stood in front of his men and after the battle actually, and said, yeah, you remember, take care of your ammunition, don't shoot too much. We took Aleppo with 120 Kalashnikovs and 16,000 rounds of ammunition. I was a machine gun in the German army. This was my machine gun. I was guarding atomic weapons. I had, for this one gun, I had 14,000 rounds, just piled up here. And I'm very doubtful, because there's so much foreign involvement now, also money-wise. It's now, I just told him, I think, now the Russians came in, and yeah, for most Arabs, communists, or what they regard as communists, so they basically say no God exists. This is the worst thing you can always say to an Arab. I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, I'm whatever. But if you say you're a communist and you tell them, I don't think there's any God, this is the lowest level you can get. So there's new arms shipment now for Islamic groups from Qatar and from Saudi Arabia. So they are coming in. So basically all action that there is always gives a reaction from the other side. So in the moment I'm extremely doubtful that anything will happen, So the area that he was actually in me too, it also has its negative things, but the Kurds control the area. They can guarantee a relatively, for me it's a superb security if you look at the all-over situation in Syria. And, maybe if they would start maybe to have a no-fly zone there, which almost actually practically exists, because no Syrian airplane will enter the area without an American permit. So you could actually start to do something like in Iraq, to get a safe haven that refugees can go somewhere, and that they are safe, at least from aircraft and from artillery fire. That would help already a lot, because of this Russian involvement over the last, I don't know, where are we now? 4, 6 weeks now, I don't know, 6, 7 weeks, 120, 150,000 people left Aleppo, and they are just now somewhere in between the Turkish border and Aleppo, sitting in the fields. Because it is, it's really horrific. Airplanes, you constantly have to look, what's happening over your head, And already when you are in Kurdish or in Syria, in Kurdistan, okay, there's a plane above, but it's the Americans, And so now maybe strange, but you're quite thankful about that, So.
Sometimes our Turkish airplanes.
Yeah, okay, if they're close to the wall.
Don't forget.
Yeah, but not. I'm talking about Syria, not about Iraq. So.
No, even in Syria, in the border, Tel Abyad.
Yeah, at the border,
They
but
bombed it 1 week ago.
Last week, yeah, but this is occasion. So.
No, but just let me say just a small thing about corruption. I have been in Syria also in 2012, in the summer, but in the other side, in the Jabal al-Akrad, it's near Aleppo, So, and the commander there, the commander from the Free Syrian Army, he told me in my face, because they don't have guns, they just have small guns, small Kalash.
Yeah, everything is small. Yeah.
Small Kalash and small RPGs, old one, very old. He said to me, because at the time we don't speak about the Islamic State to 2012, it's not. He said to me, if Al Qaeda comes here and if they give me guns,
I will join Al Qaeda. It's really a little bit like it's like the 30 Years War. I don't know. Maybe you don't read so much in history about here. But in the 30 Years War, it could be really. We fight against each other. Tomorrow somebody comes and gives him 30,000 euros, and really virtually the next day,
But I can explain a little bit why. It's a moderate guy, okay? Moderate guy. He's a former, I don't know, colonel or general from the Assad army. But they don't have guns. They don't have food. So
food, yeah? They don't even have food.
Food. They just have some eggs, potatoes, some fruits. It's very difficult to go to the border with Turkey. That's where we are across there. We need to snake a lot of kilometers by the mountains, you know. It's not easy. They do it, but it's not easy. So they are with all the army, the Assad army around them,
Yeah, encircled.
and they don't have any kind of support from outside. So if Al-Qaeda can go there
Give money.
with money
Welcome.
and with guns, I think everybody understands their position. Another point, it's the outside influence in the war. I think it's, I don't know if it is another Cold War or not, but we have the big powers here. They are on the ground. So by one side, United States, they want to cut all the corridor, the Shia corridor. Okay? And Iran, of course, they don't want.
The opposite.
Russia, they need the Tartus port in Syria because they need a port, harbor in the.
Yeah, they have a big military
Yes.
base in Tartus at the
So-
Mediterranean.
This is not a question of Syria, just a question of Syria, or just about Assad. It's more big than Syria. So that's why I don't know how is the future. So it's very difficult to understand the day after.
Yeah, you know, and it depends also, you know, the Iranian, for example, I don't know, when did the oil price plunge so much? When was this? 2 years ago, 2013, you know, when the oil price goes down, also the support goes down, you know, because a lot of things also, again, depend on economics, like with the commander that you met, you know, because for my unit it was the same. For the heavy machine gun, they had 98 rounds, and every day it was full, so this these big beans and yogurt, you know. Nothing to eat.
And we have another problem after this. It's Lebanon.
I'm not sure. You know.
Lebanon.
Yeah, but
I've been
maybe.
there 2 years ago. Lebanon, it's they have a lot of ghettos. Do you know? If you go to the south, you have the Hezbollah. If you go to the valley of Bekaa Valley, you have the Hezbollah. If you go to Tripoli, you have the Alawites, you have the Hezbollah, you have the Sunnis, and you have the army of Lebanon. So everybody with checkpoints, you know. But this is not a country. It's another thing, but not a country. So in Syria and Lebanon.
Yeah, it could happen, you know. But the point is, the most people that are in charge, they have a very good memory of the
Yeah,
Lebanese
they have.
civil war, so they really
They have.
try to contain it, you know. So I hope that's not going to happen because of the war experience that there is already.
Any further question?
Can I just
Yeah.
make a suggestion? You know, from the humanitarian point of view, you know, we had some difficulties to send people inside, and we make the analysis from a man who's based in Atlanta. And we start using our brain in a more proper way, let's say, in trying to make a puzzle. And what I mean, how people in besieged cities and very, very difficult access, they really manage to survive. Was the big questions were asked. I mean, and I was working for a donor organization, and when the agencies that we were financing, UN or NGOs, they come to us with proposals. I mean, there was always this element that we cannot access to this, we cannot guarantee that we can provide support to the people. But at the same time, we didn't receive any news, even from the other side, because there are civil organizations, civil society organizations on the other side, that were saying, well, the people are suffering, but they are not dying from hunger, dying malnutrition, in spite of the level of malnutrition, did increase also. Until we realized that indeed there was a number of organizations at very local level that indeed strengthened, increased their capacity, and these were in the people, the local organizations, they were in the front line to provide loans. Okay, receiving support from both sides. Some of the support was even a kind of illegal, whatever. So all these two, I think that from what I have been reading, and I kept reading, I think what would be a very interesting additional knowledge would be really a characterization of these very local organizations, sometimes working in the outside areas, sometimes working on the other side. I mean, that are largely known. Maybe this is the good thing. No one cares about them. That's why they manage to work. But at the same time, at least again, I'm very biased from the humanitarian assistance point of view. You don't know these circumstances. So, I mean, now it's something very, very personal. I think it would be a very interesting contribution to have some documented evidence how these very local organizations really work, how to manage to survive, how to manage to get, I mean, the supplies for providing support to the local population, neighbors, families, whatever. In case you go back to Syria.
I know, this is really things that are, I mean, there's a lot of, also, for example, garbage collection and all these things, they still work also in areas that are not under Assad control, but doing these things in the moment would be really difficult, I mean, in rebel territories, forget about it, and because it's too risky to go there for whatever reason you're going to go there, and I don't think you can do that as a journalist that is basically embedded with the regime, because people would be super careful. I mean, as soon as I show up somewhere with the Syrian army or with the regime, people will be very careful what they talk to me or what I can photograph.
I don't see any kind of organizations on the ground.
No, there's a lot of local communities. They're very small,
very small,
but they're pretty effective,
And now, do you know, the Kurdish area in Syria, they just have one channel. It's the border with Iraq, Simelka. It's the only one. It's not official border, so it's in the north, very close to the Turkish border. So we cross in the small boats. It's a river. What is the name? Jalal River. I think I don't know.
Habur. No, the Samarkand is on the Syrian side, and on the other bank it's Fesh Habur.
Ah, okay.
Fesh. But Habur is the river, and Fesh Habur is just.
We cross by boat, small boat, and the trucks, they have a military bridge, a small one, just for one truck.
Ponton bridge.
Yeah. So it's the only point. And after that, to Kobani, I don't know, maybe 500 kilometers? 400, 500?
Yeah, this is relative, but it's...
Okay.
But it's very different.
Doesn't matter.
It's about... No, it's not 500. It's 6 hours by car.
Yeah.
It's six hours by car because...
Yeah, you need to go by a road.
Small road.
Very close to the Turkish border, because if you go more inside the territory, it's maybe dangerous. So it's a very, very bad road, with a lot of checkpoints. I don't know how many, 30, 40, I don't know, And that's the only way, because all the borders with the Turkey, they are closed. In Kobani, right now, they just open the border twice a week, okay? And just for the people, because some people from Kobani are coming back. So maybe the numbers, the figures now, it's something like 1,000 each day. So, you see? you have a big part of territory without channels for foods, for goods, for whatever. So we have I find a German group in Kobani. They are working there they are building a health center in Kobani.
Was is Medico? Oder?
Yep.
Ja, Medico International. Ja.
Maybe 25, when I've been there, 25, 30, there. So, but one of the most important problems right now in Kobani is the water supply. Everything is destroyed, you know. So when the doctors in the hospitals, they told me most of the disease come from the bad water. So it's very important now to solve the problem of the water in Kobani, because if you don't solve this problem, you have a lot of problems after that. So ONGs on the ground,
Very few, super few.
it's a very difficult situation, also because I don't know if they are communists or not. They have his big leader, it's Abdullah Öcalan, terrorists for us, for the United States, for us, for the European one. So, so you know, they are in the moment. It's very difficult to, how can I say in I don't know to say in English, but in Portuguese is não sei como é que se desata aquele nó.
I don't know how to. Untie the
It's more easy in the Iraqi side. It's more easy when we talk about the relationship with the big powers, because the Kurdish political parties, even Barzani political party or Talabani, they have another kind of experience. They are on the ground for
Yeah, they are since 91. What was it, 91?
more than 20 years. So now in the Syrian side, what I felt, they are running against the times. You know, they are trying to build some institutions for their self-determination. So in the Iraqi side, they have all the institutions they need, but in the Syrian side, they don't have. And they are trying now to build this kind of executive councils, parliaments, you know. So, but it's, they need to do a lot of things at the same time. And they have the war also, knock on the door, so it's very difficult.
Well, I think we can stop here. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, José Manuel. Thank you all. To you all. Obrigado.
Obrigado.
E espero que vejam a exposição e que possam também falar às pessoas que conhecem para visitar. Obrigado.